Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Swiss Resource Capital and Commodity TV, our virtual online roadshow series. And this is a new edition today with Fury Gold Mines. Very warm welcome to all our participants. And as long as the participants here are dialing in, just also welcome, please, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Timmins, the CEO of Fury. And we have also for the first time here online, Michael Henrichsen, who is the Senior Vice President of Exploration. Welcome, gentlemen, and good morning to Canada.
Thank you, Johan.
Great to have you on board. It's the first time that we have actually two presenters. That is also great. And with a lot of geological power here also in addition. And Ivan Bebek, the non-independent chairman of Fury, will join us then for the Q&A also later on. Yeah, before we start, and as I see still investors are dialing in here, some pre-closure notes here for the presentation. Of course, nobody can see each other. Nobody can see the names nor the emails. We are fully complying to the European, Swiss, and also United Kingdom data security law. This is very important. Of course, this will be all recorded. That's also for sure. You will see the replay then tomorrow live on Commodity TV and also on YouTube. And as you know, my name is Jochen Steiger. I'm the founder and CEO of Swiss Resource Capital and also the founder and chief editor of Commodity TV. And as said, it's a big pleasure to have you all on board here. For the Q&A, please make sure that you write your questions into the chat function, and I will then take the questions then live to Michael, Ivan, and to Mike, and they will of course answer in the best interest. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I will set up now the presentation, and I would say, Mike and Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Johan, and welcome everyone. We greatly appreciate your participation on the call. In this gold market, it's tough to always stay focused on what we're doing and how we're positioned, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. As Johan said, joining me today are going to be Mike Henrichsen, our SVP Exploration, and our chairman Ivan, who will be joining us for the Q&A. And so that will be a lively Q&A session when we get there. We'll go through the presentation and then we'll follow it up with questions. I'll be making some forward-looking statements. Please, read our disclosure in that regard. Just finding out how to advance these slides.
It's a little bit slow. Sorry.
Yeah. So for those of you just hearing the story for the first time, Fury is an advanced exploration development company, and we're focused on advancing our gold portfolio in Canada. We're well positioned with over 3.7 million ounces of gold at 7.3 grams per ton corporate average resource grade in a 3-asset platform. We have 1 development asset in Quebec, 2 development assets in BC, and in Nunavut. The senior team from Newmont, Gold Corporate Agnico, respectively, and we have a very, very strong treasury of around 14 million Canadian. We're about a quarter of the way through our drill program at Eau Claire, and we've already outlined and have shown a ton of potential and growth opportunities. We've extended Eau Claire, the footprint of that project, at least 600 meters to the east. We've hit high-grade gold outside of the resource blocks at the current resource. We've hit a second structure at depth, which we believe to be the Snake Lake surface horizon, 1.1 kilometers up plunge, which could be game-changing in our view for the project. And we've identified using some of the geochemistry and historical data a target that we're calling the West Gap, which we aim to extend Eau Claire to the west. So drill's currently back on drilling the deposit, following up on previous high-grade results that we've had. And the other is positioning right now to drill test the Snake Lake depth extensions. We have a very solid corporate and capital structure. As I said, the Treasury is really funding our Eau Claire program and 12 months of working capital. We're trading in Toronto and in New York. We have 6 brokers with coverage at the moment, issuing buy recommendations with a 350 target, which in our view is conservative, right? And in Q&A, we can talk about valuation. I know Ivan wants to touch on that. and certainly. Certainly, looking at the entire deck, so certainly some room to move there with respect to gapping up to where we believe we should be trading, and then everything coming out of Mr. Henrichsen today is going to be taking us above that analyst target. From a share structure perspective, we're 118 million shares outstanding, 127 fully diluted. This is the team, and people are paramount when it comes to growing a company and realizing, identifying, and crystallizing value. No real update from when we first talked to the people viewing last time. We did have quite a significant addition to our board, Mr. Tim Clark, who is an ex-BMO banker. Based in Boston, and he's going to be helping us enhance our U.S. institutional outreach and really upping the game with respect to our U.S. presence and our effectiveness there. So we're pretty excited to welcome Tim. These are the project locations, and of course, if we had been talking 10 to 15 years ago, we would have said to ourselves, these are some pretty exotic northern locations, but they're not anymore. I can drive from my house to Eau Claire, right, which is good for the project. Homestake Ridge in BC's Golden Triangle. When you hear the Golden Triangle, you're thinking of two things. You're thinking of tremendous gold prospectivity, but you're also thinking about logistics and access. We can drive to within 6 kilometers of Homestake Ridge. So you can expect us over the next 1 to 2 years to punch in that last 6 kilometer forestry style road to make Homestake Ridge drivable from Vancouver, which will obviously be key for the future of that project. Then up in Committee Bay, we have a laydown area in Baker Lake, which is basically the central base location for Agnico. And then the bottom of the Committee Bay project is located about 150 kilometers north of Meadowbank. So good locations all around and well serviced throughout the year. The Eau Claire Project is our lead asset and resides quite solidly in the James Bay region of Quebec. So this is a re-emerging camp, and I think one that investors should really be paying attention to. As you can see by the map, roads, airports, and power. We have Hydro-Quebec in there, basically putting in power dams. We're about 18 clicks away from EM1. Then you have the mighty Cree Nation also up there with their various programs, particularly around communications, pulling in fiber, and everything else. So, we have amazing infrastructure and a very, very low population. So, I think you couldn't find a better place in Canada actually to build a mine. And as we know, you can build a mine in Quebec much quicker and a lot more easily. I mean, the process is a lot more straightforward than it is in other parts of Canada. So supreme location for the Eau Claire deposit and our activities in Quebec. Eau Claire has a 2018 PEA, which in our view was well done. It provided the basis for our diligence last summer before we made the acquisition. 1.3 million ounces at 6.5 grams per ton roughly in the PEA. The thing that really stood out to me was the potential operational flexibility of the project. It's going to be open pit before we go underground. And I know that everyone likes to say that the open pit is going to pay for the underground development. It never does. And so, I think we all know how to do a cash flow model. And so, that open pit is going to go a long way to helping offset a lot of that underground development, certainly the ramp that we're going to need going underground, and potentially some underground exploration as we go. So a lot of operational flexibility, which is a huge benefit to the financial risk of any mining project, to be honest. The goal of Eau Claire is to get it to that junior producer category of 150 to 200,000 ounces per year, right? And to do that, and we've designed our first exploration program at Eau Claire to have an earliest possible look as to whether that's achievable. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mike to talk a little bit about his results and whether we're seeing if that could be achievable.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So definitely Eau Claire is expandable. And I think our first round of drilling has really demonstrated that. You can see on target B, we've stepped 600 plus meters away from the known resource, and we're getting into some really good gold numbers. The key here is we're hitting high grade now. So 15 grams over a meter, 600 meters away, another meter and a half of 8.9 grams per ton roughly. These are really significant hits for us as we step way away from the resource. And obviously, what we need to see here is we need to see some width and we need to see some grade. And when we hit gold mineralization over minimum mining widths of 2 meters, 600 meters away, we really feel that this is going to be expandable. No question about it. And that's the area where we're really going to be working, you know, that down plunge extension. We've got our first 9 holes into targets A, B, and C combined. We're going to process those results and really see where the sweet spot is. So when we come back with the drill for a second round, we're drilling in the absolute best areas. Now, one of the other things that happened in our initial drilling out here on target B is we drilled through the horizon that hosts the Eau Claire deposit, and we hit the structure exactly where we thought we would. So perfect. We know that Eau Claire is extendable. But in the back, we let the drill keep going for a while. We hit a new mineralized horizon that's equivalent to Snake Lake. And so this is what Mike was saying. You know, all of a sudden, 1.1 kilometers away from the surface mineralization at Snake Lake, you know, we hit a meter and a half of 6.5 grams per ton. And for me, that immediately said scale. Wait a second. Snake Lake mineralization could be really significant to the story moving forward. You know, let's drive that target quickly. Let's see how expandable it really is, because our goal here is to double the size of this. And, you know, and I think what our early indications are showing us is that's definitely possible. So now we're going to go into the deposit itself. You know, can we expand with what's known? And you can see that in this inset map, we're in the sort of the eastern margin of the deposit. We're doing some drilling and we've had some really nice results. At the top in blue, you see the first 5 holes from our resource expansion program. These are 50 to 100 meter step outs from the known resource blocks, and we're hitting 6 meters of 11.5 grams per ton, 2.5 of 9. And these are the kind of results where you can just, you know, everybody can draw another block, another resource block, and you can see we're just going to add ounces incrementally. It's just going to be a good growth platform. And when you look at that oval, the overall oval, that's 200,000 ounces at 12 grams per ton. If we start expanding those resource blocks, that could go a long way to you know, building that ounce profile required to get to that 150 to 200,000 ounce production profile that Mike has spoken about. So we're really happy with the way these infill and resource expansion results are going. We see the resource getting bigger, and quite honestly, the deposit's behaving very well. You know, we like what we see. It's behaving like all the other 900 holes into the deposit statistically, and we have confidence in what we're doing here. When you see this, you can see on the top there in a cross section, you can see the yellow lines where you have your resource blocks, and then down below there's other resource blocks. And then you can see where it says 6 meters of 11.5 grams per ton. We can all draw the line from one resource block to another. And that's key. Just shows you, hey, you draw that line, you have more ounces. Again, it's a steady growth profile. That's what it looks like. Meat and potatoes, but I tell you, you can add some ounces in there very quickly by just continuing to do this drilling. So we're going to continue this program as we've had some very good results to date so far. Okay, now this is the same B panel results. So we're looking 600 meters away from the resource, which is outlined in red there. And you can see that all of these gold intersections are lying on that Eau Claire structure. So this is where we have great confidence. They're not in different planes. They're just on that structure. They're parallel to the resource. We've got the grade now, and we're saying, hey, look, this thing gets bigger. But you can see in hole number 10 there, that intercept that happens much later at the boundary between the brown sedimentary rocks and the green volcanic rocks. And you hit that 1.5 meters of 6.4 grams per ton. That's 1.1 kilometers away from Snake Lake. And that was what really struck us as a big piece of learning here. We went, whoa, what's this? We didn't expect to hit this down here. Now we have to take a real look at Snake Lake and say, well, does the high grade that's at Snake Lake on the surface extend that 1.1 kilometers? And if it does, it's game changing. One of the comments that I'll make through our early stages of drilling here is we're learning a tremendous amount. And that's key. You come onto a project, you have all the historical data, we're a good geoscience team, we do the work and we say, okay, it's expandable. And so far it definitely is. But I think more importantly, now we're getting our heads around some of the subtleties, some of the subtler features that are really going to add value. And I think what you'll see from us is as we learn, the targets are going to get better. And that's what happens exactly here. You hit that mineralized horizon in the back, all of a sudden, Snake Lake gets better. So if we take a look at the Snake Lake slide, you can see the mineralization highlighted here, 2.65 meters at 13 grams, 2 meters at 6.62, meter and a half at 12.2 grams per ton. And it's just sitting there hanging in space. So we want to put 3 quick holes into that, see if it's expandable, see if we hit grade, and then obviously if those holes come in with good mineralization, we can point to another kilometer down towards the end of that panel B drill hole. And again, that's the scalability. That's the game-changing nature of what we're trying to accomplish early here by drilling different targets to get a sense of where the best place to put our capital is to expand the resource at Eau Claire. So we've just been talking really about what's happening around the deposit. There's a much bigger story to be told here. And what you see is in this slide is approximately 5 kilometers of what we call the deposit trend. And what you see is where structures intersect each other, that's where gold mineralization occurs. It happens at Eau Claire, it happens at Snake Lake, and you can see at target B and target C, we were really drilling the intersection of the Snake Lake structure with the Eau Claire structure. We have other ones further out to the east, like at Clovis Lake, even further out to the west at like Spider. So what you're going to see from us moving forward is you're going to see us daylight new targets to our investors. You're going to see us showing the case of why we absolutely have to go drill some of these zones because of the strong gold mineralization that's there and the really robust data sets that tell us as a bunch of geologists we have to drill these targets. So I think really stay tuned. We've got a lot of targets left to drill, and I think we're going to see a lot of success moving forward as we as a geoscience team understand this project better. Certainly from my standpoint, this is getting better. It's behaving like I thought it would. It looks like it's going to get bigger. And, we're just excited to get the drills across all of these different targets in short order so we can really show the discovery potential of the project. Okay, so now we're going to step out in scale again. On the left-hand side, you see this red rectangle. That's what we've been talking about. That's that 7-kilometer deposit trend. But we have a much bigger situation here. I mean, we've got 55,000 hectares roughly. And you can see that the mineralization to date is focused along that southern structure called the Canard Deformation Zone. And really, it's underexplored to my mind. I mean, most of the exploration dollars historically have gone into that red rectangle. But there's 30 kilometers of the Canard Deformation Zone that has the potential to host major deposits. And we're going to start exploring that in the summer, build up our targets from geochemistry and geophysics, and get the next set of drill targets regionally so that there's always that growth pipeline. Certainly the big block on the left, like Clarkie, is extremely interesting to us. It's had very little work done on it. There was a smattering of till samples that were taken by our predecessors. And all these stars that you see are gold and till anomalies, which indicate, hey, there could be a gold source out there. You see 2 on the Canard Deformation Zone, and then on that northern structure called the La Clarkie structure, there's 3. And that's right at the boundary between intrusions and sedimentary rocks, exactly like you see at the Eleanor mine that Newmont operates 40 kilometers to the north. So we're extremely excited about the regional prospects of the Eau Claire project.
Great, thank you, Mike. And that's basically the program that we're advancing since the beginning of an inception of the company, right? We had a big start in Quebec. Moving through, we're well into our 50,000 meter program there, and still, almost on a weekly basis, outlining more and more potential as we advance and de-risk that project. Mike is going to say this in a moment, but I'll say it again. Homestake Ridge is not unlike Eau Claire, in that it's not what you see is what you get. We are very, very excited for what we've outlined this summer. I think it's going to, as we reimagine and reintroduce this asset to the market, people are going to be very, very surprised for what we're basically going to put out. Again, for the Golden Triangle, beautiful access, excellent infrastructure. The guys did a 2020 PEA, which in my view is a green light. I think that means moving forward. Let's go and explore to meaningfully increase the ounce profile of this project. We do want to get it up to that 100 to 150 ounce per year producer level. I think you want to get up to that level to offset all of the work and risk that you need to do when you put capital to build a mine. And so our first program, again, very similar to Eau Claire, is going to be a bit of a survey of all of the different things that we wanted to follow up to find out where we should allocate capital most efficiently moving forward to come out with obviously positive results, but also grow the project. So with that, I'll pass it over to Mike to talk a little bit about his summer program and what he's done at the project to date.
Thanks, Mike. So what you see here in the light orange color in the background is the resource. The resource is 1.2 million ounces of gold equivalent at about 7.4 grams per ton gold equivalent. So great high-grade deposit and certainly expandable. What you see in blue is the proposed stopes, the mine stopes from our PEA study. So you can get a sense of what we're looking at mining right now. But what strikes me about Homestake is that it's open for expansion. And what we did as a geoscience team is we took the 90,000 meters that had been drilled into this deposit and we put it into context of why is high grade where it is. And we found the features that are breccia bodies and specific vein sets, and we mapped them throughout the deposit. We mapped them both laterally and vertically. And that allowed us to say, okay, now we know what the geologic features are that are focusing high grade. And you can see these high grade plunge text boxes at a steep angle. And that's the angle that, is really the control of the high grade in the deposit. And if you go to Homestake Silver and you start looking at that and you say, okay, well, what's your guys' plan? Well, we're going to start offsetting 3 meters of 87 grams per ton gold. We're going to offset 3 meters of 16 grams and 3.6 meters of 8 grams per ton gold. That's the style of offsets that we're going to be doing. So very powerful. And if you start hitting those kind of numbers, you're going to add to that resource base very quickly. You can also see out on the left, it says Homestake Silver Strike Extension. This is something that, is really important to me as well, because, if we're going to step out 350 meters from that last known drill hole, and what did that contain? About a meter of 1.3 kilos silver and a gram per ton gold, and another meter of 4.2 grams gold and say 500 silver, half a kilo silver. Obviously, if we step out 350 meters and we start hitting high grade gold and silver numbers, again, Homestake, the trajectory of the project changes entirely. And again, we're quite confident based on our geologic models that we have every reason to think that this can be expandable. Same thing over at Homestake Main on the right-hand side of the picture. Again, we're offsetting high grade. Whether it's 2.7 meters of 24 grams or a meter of 20 grams, these are things that we just know we have to do. In general, I would tell you this, I think we're going to do a little bit more drilling at Homestake Silver because it's a little bit more open. We think vertically that it'll go to depth a little bit more than Homestake Main will go. And so you can see that that's how our drill program is focused at the moment. But I mean, certainly we're very excited to be able to have the luxury of offsetting such high grade mineralization. So I think we can look at this slide here, this is just sort of the style of what we're doing. You can see on the top left, this is a cross-section of Homestake Silver, the light orange shape, that's the resource. You can see the great numbers and you can see the drill plan. Step out 150 meters on the first hole, go another 150 meters underneath that. If we're hitting 300 meters away, we all know that that's a lot of ounces that are going to come in. And a very similar story over at Homestake Main. So again, you can just see the style of work that we're going to be doing here to expand the resource at Homestake.
Thank you, Mike. And then up north to Committee Bay, as you know, as really the new guy on the file, you know, I come in as the CEO, you know, in a company with the project that's really near and dear to my heart. Nunavut is probably one of the last places around where you can legitimately go out and hunt for large-scale, high-grade gold deposits, right? I think we saw Agnico's acquisition of TMAC earlier in the year. You know, when you have you know, the best mining company in the world doubling down in a region, I think that, you know, that's a very compelling, you know, a very compelling piece of evidence that, you know, this is the future for gold exploration in Canada. I think you're going to see companies like Sabina move their project ahead, and you're going to see more and more activity as you know, as we go out, obviously into the, you know, 3, 5, and 7 years ahead. If you were to look longer term, you're going to see it, right? Or if you look probably from a government and a territory perspective, you can see them putting plans in together for infrastructure, right? So by the time the next mine goes online up in Nunavut, it's not going to be run on diesel fuel. It's going to be run on power, and you're going to have fiber internet all the way up there by the time these things come in, because those are the big kind of government programs that are there now. The team over the last 5 years has invested 60 million and done most of the geological heavy lifting, and now it's just a matter of going up there and be, you know, ultra targeted when we deploy and allocate our capital to maximize value at the project. We have an amazing starter resource, 1.2 million ounces at over 7.5 grams per ton, which is the critical mass with respect to grade that you require, being so far north. And so we are going to be, you know, tapping into and outlining for investors as we go forward all of the growth potential we have there in order for us to be on track and stay on path in order to reach that critical mass of, you know, 5 to 7 million ounces that you need in order to start thinking about developing an operation.
So what I would say here is Mike got it exactly right. I mean, we've put $60 million of investment into this, and we've got a lot of heavy lifting done. We know what the geology is. We know what the geophysics is. We know where the geochemistry is telling us where the big gold centers are. So when we go up now, it's extremely targeted. I will say this about Committee Bay. Committee Bay has an unbelievable discovery potential, world class. It's 300 kilometers long. I mean, the scale of the project is enormous. And if you look at the high grade that is being intercepted, you know, whether you're at a nook at the very northeast corner at the top right, 25 meters of 5 grams, or you go to the exact opposite end of the belt down at West Plains, you know, 16.8 meters of 10 grams, the high grade resource in the middle, we know there's going to be a big discovery up here. And it's not an easy place, but we've done that heavy lifting. So as Mike said, every time we go up with the drill bit now, it's going to be surgical in its approach. We really know what the data sets are telling us, and we're going to really focus in on not only expanding the Three Bluffs deposit, but getting that new discovery, which will give us that critical mass of plus 5 million ounces at high grade, you know, to really demonstrate that Committee Bay is a world-class belt. And, you know, some of the things that we'll be doing, you know, I mean, if you just look at Three Bluffs and you look at the expandability of the deposit, you can see where it says hinge zone conductor. That hinge zone conductor, that is the signature of high grade mineralization at the Three Bluffs deposit. And you can see this thing called target number 1 sitting there underneath, undrilled. And look at some of these intercepts that we're going to be offsetting. You know, 5.3 meters of 28, 5 meters of 15, 2 meters of 19, 2 meters of 21. That's what we're offsetting, right? So again, showing the expandability of the Three Bluffs deposit, as well as, I mean, and a number of other targets in the belt that we want to test. So this is the spirit of what we're doing. Let's get 3 Bluffs to be a bigger deposit, but let's also test our targets moving forward.
Thank you, Mike. So when it comes to summing this all up, Johan, before we go to the Q&A, again,
Yes.
well positioned as a company, well positioned with all of the ingredients it's going to take to grow and create a ton of value for investors. It all starts with the right team, all assembled at the right time. We believe that we have that, from our management team to our board. The mantra you're going to hear from us, is going to be increasing scale and finding more gold. Are really going to be the key drivers for us as we move forward, right? Eau Claire, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and on a daily basis, as we advance it and de-risk it, just continues to demonstrate growth potential and opportunity everywhere, and on all 3 project scales, which, in my view, if I put my big company hat on, is very, very attractive for long-term growth prospects. And then finally, I'd say over the next 18 months, you're going to see over 80,000 meters of continuous exploration activity for us, and then associated drill results to come with that. So it's going to be a dream to market. We're going to have a lot of milestones coming out, as we ramp up activities for the summer, with results coming into the fall conference season. It's going to be nonstop as we go from here.
Super. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mike and Michael, and also welcome now Ivan Bebek, the non-independent chairman here. And let me stop the slide presentation as we can come then to the Q&A. Ivan, maybe you want to say some words first before we come to the Q&A?
Sure. Great. Thanks. Great to be back, Johan. Look, the fundamentals at Fury have gotten better since we've come public in October last year. Most importantly, Eau Claire, the best of Eau Claire is yet to come. And when you're on a project that's got so much history and so much data, it takes a bit of time. Mike and his team have done a remarkable job, and you're hearing a little bit of it with that new Snake Lake opportunity that's come up. Going forward, I think that, the biggest challenge we faced was the market conditions, what everyone has faced. However, to mitigate that, news flow and putting out more results more frequently is something we've also adjusted. Mike and the guys have switched assay labs so that we're going to shorten assay times in half, from 70 to about 30 days on assay results coming out. Lastly, I look at the whole gold space, and it's one thing to go and complain about the gold market and sentiment, but internally we don't have that fear or that complaint. We're driving ahead. We're driving ahead because the projects merit it. We have over $12.5 million in cash, and we see a future for the rest of the year that is much better than it has been from how we've started. We offer incredibly deep value in terms of our current value proposition from what we have and what we've been adding to the actual fundamental net asset value of the company, but we also offer a tremendous amount of torque. And so to be actionary about how we're going to get our share price to perform again, as you saw for a brief moment in February, to Mike Timmins' point, we're going to be on the road vigorously for the next 2 months, telling the story, and this time we're going to have steady news flow behind it. So a very exciting second half of the year looking ahead for us, and lots of drilling, lots of results, and our projects have our main project is getting better, and it looks like it could get a lot bigger. Thank you, Johan.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ivan. That was also the roundup, like there are no more questions left. But no, anyhow, no, things are really looking great here. Thanks for a great presentation, gentlemen, and also to you, Michael Henrichsen, because I have witnessed really a lot of geo presentations, but yours was really outstanding. I learned again new stuff, and this is really great. There's also the first question is from a gentleman here. Would you consider doing an aggressive program similar to OSK or Cisco Mining? Currently, they have 24 rigs turning on. Could you imagine something like this? Feel free to answer wherever who wants.
Mike, go ahead. About 27 rigs. I think that's your answer.
Well, I'll answer that by saying that I fully anticipate more rigs to come into the Eau Claire project. Whether we hit 27 or not, time will tell. But I do think success will bring additional rigs onto the project.
Yeah, I think Sorry.
Just one thing to add there. It's that's a vein discovery, right? And so the more rigs will get you more ounces quicker. And I think if these guys can find that kind of a target that deserves 27 rigs, we'll go finance it and get them to 27 rigs. And I think the share price would most certainly appreciate that kind of anti-dilution and a higher price if we find that kind of a target to do that. So, full stop. I'd love to see 27 rigs going at Eau Claire. That would be a great sign, and hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah, and it's also a matter of money, of course, and availability of financing. That's also for sure, because that's quite expensive. Then there is a question from a friend of Geneva here. What type of ore do you have? Is it oxide or more sulfides? Are there any base metals associated with the gold? We saw only like gold, silver also. What sort recoveries do you expect? What methods? Maybe a bit early, but let's see. You had also PEAs already.
Yeah, I'll let Mike talk about the geological setting of Eau Claire. But I mean, as far as recoveries go, I mean, I think you can expect mid 90s, right? You're going to have at least somewhere between 45 and 50% gravity recoverable gold, and the rest will come out basically in cyanide leach, right? So from a metallurgist point of view, I would say the production is going to be a pretty Fisher Price. I'll hand it over to Mike to talk a little bit about what he thinks with respect to the geological setting.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in Quebec, we're not going to see oxide gold. We're going to have gold in sulfide or free gold in the veins. Yeah. And as Mike said, it's very straightforward in terms of recovery. That's one of the reasons we really like this asset when we got involved with it, is that everything was very straightforward. We don't anticipate surprises with respect to metallurgy or geologic continuity or what have you. So, that's why we like this thing. Easy to do it.
Okay, great, thank you. Then next question, why have you drilled step-out holes first, which only indicate that the resource may extend another 800 meters at a depth of 600 to 1,000 meters, instead of testing areas that have shown very good sampling results in the past, such as Percival or in the Canard or Lake Clarke structures? Isn't it too much money and investor confidence being burned?
I'm happy to answer that one. I used to have a job with Newmont Mining where I went around the world and I looked at all of their districts and I went to all of their mine sites. And my job was go find high grade, make this bigger. That was literally the job title. And so when we get to Eau Claire and we look at stepping out 600 meters right away, which nobody had done over the previous 25 years of operation, that's time value for our investors. We're giving our investors the early look saying, hey, look, this deposit's going to get much bigger. That is power for our investors. That is power for us, because that allows us to scale our studies accordingly. When we start moving into sort of mining studies, we're going to know how big this thing is ultimately. And that's the key here. We will always take a time value approach to drilling. That just means know early. Know how big it's going to be, know what target's going to deliver the most. And when you look at a resource, of course, we want to expand that resource because that's where the mine plan is going to be. So that's exactly where we should be focusing. We will get to those other targets like Percival in time. But right now, that was the critical path forward to really demonstrate it's going to get bigger at Eau Claire.
Yeah, that's a great question. And just to comment there, you just heard of how many other targets we haven't got to yet. So I think the one thing that we're seeing at Eau Claire is there's a lot of low-hanging fruit around this thing to make it bigger. And there's still a lot of really exciting blue sky stuff that could really come together for us. So it's an awesome project from that perspective. And, infrastructure and everything where it sits, it's somewhere that is highly explored in one area, underexplored in many. And that's the dream for exploration, is to go and add real ounces. So great question. And Mike, great answer there.
And I would say the flip side of that is our job is to increase underlying value in the stock and underlying value in our portfolio, right? And you do that by outlining ounces that are closer to the core, right? I mean, it's very, very important to know what you have regionally and start to develop these satellites, right? But that'll be done in time. I think that will come very soon, right? But again, within the company, we have a pipeline of projects, but each project also has a pipeline of satellites, right? So if we want to look at growth from very different scales, we have to have that. So drilling close to the resource proper, I mean, those are high profit ounces, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, super, thank you. Then a question in between: why are the drilling results coming back from the lab so slowly? Is it still COVID related, or is there so much going on?
Both.
I think it's both, right? I think COVID really impacts from a personnel perspective, from a speed perspective with distancing and everything else. And then, to your point, Johan, to your earlier point the activity, even from your perspective, ramping up with the amount of videos and TV shows that you're doing and everything else. I mean, people are raising money, right? And it's just now, say, over the last 18 to 12 months, that people are really starting to put money in the ground, right? Which hopefully we should have been doing, over the last 3 to 5 years, which really would have done a lot to kind of offset this, this gold production cliff that we're going to see hanging out in front of us from 2025, 2026, right? So I think it's just a matter of everyone's hitting it now because it's late.
Yeah. That's right. And definitely we have to, because since the last financial crisis, we saw the problem that we had almost like 6-7 years, almost no exploration in this world. And now things are really moving and we really need those metals. That's also for sure. There is a question for Ivan. Ivan. Okay. Ivan stated recently, drilling campaign at Fury would compare to a lottery ticket every month. Do you think you hit some price at target B? Certainly not the jackpot, but how would you describe the price you drilled?
Okay, well, great question and a statement that I stand behind. And, B panel, 600 meters away. I mean, today's press release is a better indication of the lottery ticket. I think you can see a few of the numbers you've got right on the ticket. Not all of them yet, but a few of them. We've got mining widths, and now we have high grade. And so now we just need to find a few more holes that hit widths and grade, and then we're really off to the races with the B panel. I think that's the start of a lottery ticket. To answer your question, I think the next lottery tickets coming are going to be from Snake Lake, as well as something new that we're discussing internally. But there's a few more, and size of lottery also matters, and I think there's some big lottery tickets that are coming from some of the new targets you're going to hear about in the next few weeks. So I think we have the start of a lottery ticket with B panel. We obviously want to see, 5 meters of 20 grams, or we want to see another hole that we've drilled 6 meters of 11 grams. We think it's there. Vein systems are erratic, but seeing grade and seeing mining widths 600 meters away from the deposit, that's a very, very good result by the technical team.
Okay, super. We want to get the jackpot, of course, not only a lottery ticket. That's also for sure.
Well, and with high grade gold projects, you've got to be patient, right? I mean, these things, I'm back to the comment about 27 drills. I mean, these things take time to find. These things take time to drill and survey across the project to find the place of highest grade gold that you could allocate your money towards, right? And then you have to build it out, right? So you'll have that initial, hey, this is new, no one's ever seen this before, it's exciting, right? So you get the first 3 numbers of your lottery ticket, right? And then as you build it out, you get a few more, and then as you convert it into a new technical study, you get the last ones, right? And so instead of having a project that's worth 3, 4, 500 million, they have a project that's now worth 8, 9, and $1 billion, right? So it's timing.
Well said, Mike. And the whole time that you're holding these lottery tickets with us, you've got a lot of deep value that's missing from the share price, and we plan to fix that. And obviously, we have to be patient with the gold market, but we will be at the forefront of everyone's investment screen because we are going to market aggressively in the next few months to get there. And we'll have a lot of more lottery ticket potential results to come in and hopefully satisfy that share price, performance that's missing right now.
Absolutely. And I think if we look at your presentation, you gave the analysts, you had a average price of $3.54 already as target prices. And this is, let's say, 100% from today, right? Easily.
You know what,
Yeah.
Johan, I have a view towards that, and I think, you know, analysts, they crunch numbers, they look at the ounces there. We look at this differently. We look at what we want to achieve as a group and what we want to achieve as a share price to make it worthwhile, not just for the investors, but also for ourselves to take all this time and energy that has been taken. And we're going for the double digits in the next couple of years, maybe in 6 to 8 months, maybe a little bit longer. I don't have a set timeline. I have a set goal. And I think that from my perspective, and I'm sure the Mikes here would agree, the opportunities just within Eau Claire could get us there. Never mind Homestake and Committee Bay. And Homestake, you know, the recent drill program that the two Mikes here we're sharing with you, that's one of my favorite drill programs, to go drill high grade in the Golden Triangle, to have a big silver zone to expand. I mean, that's going to be an awesome program when that starts. And then I resonate really well with what Mike Timmins said about Committee Bay. And many of you know that in the Oran days, Committee Bay is my #1 gold target globally. Nothing beats it. Mike and his team, $60 million has gone into this adventure, and it's just getting started. And when we get into that first discovery, and we believe strongly that we will, possibly this summer, it's going to be one of our highest probable chances that we've taken, then I think you have to kind of reflect on like a Great Bear and that kind of share price performance. But I will reiterate to everybody, we have all the fundamental value, and it's way ahead of our share price. We're way behind. And we can close that with a little bit of a shift in the gold market, which we think is poised for a big rally. But we also have not just lottery tickets, but we have super lottery tickets on each project. So it's truly an exciting platform to be part of as an investor.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. There are several questions before we move on. Just a short question. The $12.5 million cash, this is definitely enough for this year to work everything out, right?
The treasury we have now in total, treasury and cash equivalents around 14. So it's very strong, and it's going to take care of our Quebec and G&A to the end of the year. The beauty of having a portfolio of projects is that you can turn them on or you can turn them off, right? So while we're planning and preparing for projects in BC and Nunavut, we don't actually have to go and do that, right? We don't have to go and fund those projects. We don't have to propose anything to the board with respect to budgeting or everything else, right? These are optional projects for us, and as markets in our, quite frankly, as Eau Claire results allow, we will fund those projects later in the year.
Okay, super.
And just on Mike's point there is, that's the defensive side of the portfolio. There's no obligations for us financially, and we can stretch our treasury. If the market stays bad for longer, we're not going to blow all our money and put ourselves in a financing position. Something that Mike Timmins and I have talked about extensively, and Michael Henrichsen, is being very strategic with how we finance this company. And his comment exactly resonates perfectly with what we've been discussing, which is that when we can build momentum in a recovery in the gold price, covering the gold market with a lot more results that we're really excited about coming out of Eau Claire, then we can take some money along the way. There's no overwhelming, financing decision that needs to be made anytime soon. And we're probably really relaxed in this interview because we have 14 million with cash equivalents in the treasury. And that's a very strong position to be in financially. Again, it reemphasizes the deep value that we offer. We're funded. We don't have any needs. And for those that keep offering us financing, no, we're not going to finance at a 52-week lows. We're not interested. Please stop offering, and look forward to a lot more results and a few months of marketing before we consider that. Thank you.
That's right. And please start offering again at $5 plus.
That'll be our goal.
I'll write that down. I'll write that down.
Super. Listen, I have several shareholders here already in the line who are asking something really important. And this is a little bit peripheral with Fury Gold. It has to do with Sombrero and Tier 1. They are asking, when are the companies listed? Before we move on with Fury.
Yeah, real brief answer there. Two things. It's entirely up to the exchange. And so I would encourage you to go to the Tier 1 website and add your name to the email list. The minute we get a date, which should be in the next few weeks, not few months, we will advertise that very, very loudly. And same for Sombrero. But I don't want to be specific on timing. We're subject to exchanges. And I'll just say, join the website mailing list. You'll be the first to know. We'll send it out that day.
Absolutely, and we should know it in also. So that means we are not talking about months, we talk about more weeks, I would say, and this is an important answer here to that question. Yeah, that's
weeks
super.
For Tier 1, yeah.
Okay, super. Then let's come back to your terrific company. A question from a shareholder in Frankfurt here. Do you want to bring all three properties, or all three projects and properties, sorry, into production, or could you imagine also to sell one? And I think with the selling, he means maybe Committee Bay, because this is very big, or to partner here. I mean, you have a natural partner in the south.
I think that's going to depend. It's too early to say that yet, right?
Yeah.
If you want to hold us to the whole portfolio approach and maximizing value for shareholders, then yeah, I suppose that could happen in the future, right? But now for us, there's really a plan A and a plan B, basically a plan B path, right? I mean, there's two more probable outcomes for Fury. The first one is what we're working on today, right? Which is to bring the entire asset portfolio into production, right? And we'll continue to do that. In a rising gold price environment, you can imagine that the large shareholders of the mid-tiers and the majors are going to be asked the question, where's your growth, right? We know and understand that this gold production profile is sitting ahead, right? Oh, and by the way, you have mines in the Congo and Ecuador and a lot of other crazy places where geopolitical risk will become first and foremost, and people will be very sensitive. So the big guys and the mid-tiers are going to be looking to bolt on growth in a safe jurisdiction, high grade, right? And so there are only a handful of those, and we're one of the better ones, right, with respect to growth. So I think it's either, we're going to be putting all these mines online, right, as we advance them and increase the value of the company, or it's going to be a takeout at some time in the future, right? And that'll be up to our shareholders to decide.
Yeah, just one point there, Johan, and I think Mike Henrichsen will resonate with this. It is incredibly difficult to find 1 million ounces of 8 grams gold anywhere on the planet anymore, let alone in Canada. And so, yes, we are working hard through a challenging market, challenging gold prices, but I think Timmins' point about geopolitical ounces, I mean, what is this company worth? When does the premium come into the share price? I think sooner than later, you'll see a massive shift. So, 1 million ounces of high grade as a starting point is in 3 projects. That's what this company has, is an incredible starting point that you don't hear about anymore. You don't hear about discoveries anymore, anywhere of consequence. Very few. There's Great Bear and maybe 1 or 2 others, but I mean, that's very few to satisfy a massive production cliff that's coming. So I think that, yeah, gold price is going to go well, but 1 million ounces of high grade is going to be worth a hell of a lot more in the future than it is worth today. Pardon the expression.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the gold prices will turn quite soon, because tomorrow is the show me your cards day, I would say, on the COMEX. And this is getting interesting. So now they have to show who has the gold really, right? And this is probably why it's so low today. Coming to Homestake. We saw in your presentation that you have neighbors like Dollyvarden, but also like Hecla. And you have done a 2020 PEA, which was very favorable. So first question is, what would be a capex for this project? And secondly, where do you see, let's say, the development plan to bring this into production? How many more ounces do you think you need? How many more meters do you think you have to drill until you are at a, let's say, resource which satisfies then a feasibility study and to really move forward?
I think I'll hand it over to Mike in a moment to also answer that. What we've done is we've outlined a 24 to 36 month overall exploration program for Homestake, right? So for us going forward, for the next 3 years is going to be drill, and that's basically what we're going to do. And then we'll see where we get, right? The PEA, in our view, we've discussed this internally. A PEA is simply a red light, green light, right? We all know the level of confidence that people have in numbers. You never should be building a mine on the back of a PEA. I know that people like to do that, but it's basically, if this is true, this is true, and this is true, and all of these assumptions, and the market is perfectly behaved, then you could make money, right? That's basically what a PEA is, right? And for us, and the work that the guys have done last year on that PEA was, in my quality, again, as the new guy coming in, doing my own diligence on it, was high quality. And so I think it's just a matter of let's go, let's double or triple the output of the potential project. And in order to get there, we're basically gonna have to drill. So we don't have a resource target. We don't have a we don't have a an overall production target, and we're not really even factoring in what the neighbors have, right? Because we have the center of gravity in that region.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
going to
Again,
get
yeah, I would just add to that, to make a decision in terms of a mining scenario, you need to know how big your asset is. And, when you have these clear expansion targets that, we're going to go drilling in our next phase of drilling at Homestake, there's no point in speculating in a way in terms of, oh, it's going to take this many meters and it's this big. Let's go get the answer and figure out Homestake Ridge is as big as it can possibly be. Then you start the studies. Then you get into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so much more drilling, of course, and then we see what's
much
going
bigger.
on, step after step.
Yeah.
Fantastic, good. Then what else do we have here? Yeah, let's come back to Eau Claire. I mean, here the same. Where do you see a possible capex? Also, where do you see? We have targets A, B, C, and some more targets, of course. Would this support, let's say, several mines? Would it be one mine, maybe? Do you see like one center processing plant and mill, and then you are putting the targets, or not the targets, sorry, the pits around and also maybe underground? Can you maybe describe this a bit? What might be a plan for the foreseeable future?
So I would say the concept would be that we would basically drill Eau Claire until we have a resource in the ground that could support 150 to 200,000 ounces a year for a 10-year period, right? And so that's going to be basically an Eau Claire proper, right? And if you saw in the presentation when Mike talked a little bit about the deposit trend, so it's Eau Claire proper plus the deposit trend. So within that first 5 kilometers is where all of the value, right, and the entire production scenario, I would say, in the next decade are going to be, right? The regional stuff like Percival and some other discoveries that could maybe Clovis that we could make going forward, once we punch production roads out there, are indeed going to be satellites. So that is correct. And whether they're open pit satellites or they're underground satellites, it'll be less to see, right? In this part of the world, at that production level, I think that you could expect somewhere between ultimately probably 250 to 350 as far as initial capex. All right, and I think you'd want to keep it to that, right? I mean, I think the days, certainly going into a higher gold price environment, the days of guys blowing $2 billion to build a mine, we saw where the last few of those have taken companies. And I don't think that's a real good way to destroy value in a project that you worked so hard over the last 3, 5, and 7 years to drill and explore, and all the money you raised, in order to do that and grow it, right? So I think in the future you're going to see a lot more higher grade, smaller, but higher profitable mines that can weather the next downturn in gold, but weather the next global pandemic, or anything else, right? I mean, you have to make your business. Yeah, it's got to be a good business. And forget that we're explorers, and forget that we want to be a mining company in the mining sector. You just basically have to have a good, robust business, right? When it comes to your finances and your team and how you're positioned as a company, right? So I think you're going to see more and more of that as we go forward.
Okay. Were you hoping for more from the step-out drill results you received so far? And if so, how do you deal with them? Does the assessment by results of the targets A and C have implications for the plans for diversified drill targets like Snake Lake and Clovis, and maybe also the results we saw today?
Well, I think in terms of my expectations of taking those initial bold steps, 600 meters into the unknown, what I'll say is we drilled 4 holes. 3 of those holes came back above cutoff grade. 2 of those holes came back over, say, a minimum mining width of 2 meters at roughly plus 7 grams per ton. That is an unbelievable hit rate in such an early stage of exploration. What I'll do is I'll say, if you look at our results from our infill drilling in the deposit, in that 200,000 ounces of 12 grams, we drilled 6 meters of 11 grams per ton. Right beside that, it was, I think, 2.5 meters of 8.9. You can see that variability even within 50 to 100 meters. What I think is going to happen is we're going to hit those sweet spots at panel B. And we're going to say, okay, we've gone from, that 1.5 meters of 8.9, all of a sudden is 3 meters of 12. And then all of a sudden you have that natural variability. We get enough holes into it that you can say, hey, listen, there's the sweet spots. We're gonna add some good ounces here. So from the standpoint, am I excited about those results? 100%. That's clear indication that the system continues. Now we're just going to get that sweet spot going, width and grade together, and we're off to the races.
As an investor, I mean, we all want to see the stock go up when you have a success, and what Mike just described is a great success in expanding the actual deposit. But we're realists. We know that gold was $1,950 6 months ago. It's $1,688 today, or whatever it is around there. And so we look forward to this catching up to us later. And in all the companies I've been part of, when markets have gone offside and projects have gone onside and start to improve fundamentals like we have, I've seen it catch up, and there's been gaps to the upside that haven't made sense going forward. So, again, I reiterate, these are very good developments, very good improvement of fundamentals. These are very good holes. We're not getting paid for them yet, but when the market comes back, I think we will see it for sure in the share price.
Yeah, and definitely gold will be above 2,200 in the second half of this year. So you're laying the foundation for much higher share price. And This is what I like, as I'm a shareholder too, of course.
Well, it's about, it's also, Johan, it's also about long-term positioning, right? We're not going to, the lifeblood of a company of our size is to always be active, right? You can be well positioned with, the greatest team and good projects, but you've got to be active. Right, being active is the massive cure-all for this, right? Especially when we all as investors have a long-term view. We can't let the market and the gold price ruin our mood or affect our game.
No.
Absolutely. So there's another question from a shareholder here. How about the other ex-East Main properties in the Eau Claire area, like Litch, Radisson, and Reservoir? What are your plans there?
Well, we are assessing them this summer, right? I mean, obviously, when you inherit a big land package like we have, you have to get boots on the ground and you have to make your own decisions. Certainly from the standpoint of us moving forward, we have our 55,000 hectares at Eau Claire, right? And then La Clarke. That's a huge area. And we want to make sure this summer in our evaluations that we see the upside, that we see the discovery potential. And once we have that done, then we'll be able to really make that decision properly.
Okay, super. Then question, finances we had, of course, but some of the participants would still like to know, have you had any major changes in your shareholder base? What is management share? Who are your large shareholders?
We've been blacked out for a long time as we're drilling. So hopefully that comes off soon and we can add some more as management. New director to the board. That's a significant change, in the last while. I think that we definitely, when we were in February and we were trading at 235 Canadian, there was a 4-minute gold market we had. I think all of us did, and we definitely picked up some new institutions. And the good thing about institutions is they can buy a lot, and if they believe it's a good validation. The punitive side of institutions is when the gold market goes as bad as it is, you get a lot of redemptions, and they don't have a choice. They need people redeem their money out of those funds. And so double-edged sword, but I'd say Mike, you could be more myopic if you want to be specific, but there's been a blanket increase in institutional investors coming in. We have cleaned up a lot of the Orin Peru shareholders that may have wanted out, or people that didn't want to be in gold. And I think the demise of selling has been predominantly market conditions, because fundamentals don't agree with it being sold down here. They would agree with a strong buy, in my opinion, at this stage.
Super. 5 years from here, 2 projects in production?
Well, Mike, we could have more. I mean, the story that Mike Timmins said early, and I'll say it for you, Mike, but was to grow and acquire and keep growing. And so, if we can deliver on the share price, I'm sure there'll be some acquisitions down the road, and maybe there's 3 or 4 in production. I mean, sky's the limit, and the 2 Mikes here are extremely ambitious, and I support that full-heartedly.
Super, fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. We are already well over the time, which is absolutely great. Thank you. Great presentation. Also, thanks to our participants for a great and lively Q&A here. And thanks to you three gentlemen for answering everything, and not only briefly, but really to the point. And I think that was a very high value for us shareholders here to really talk to you and to listen to you. Ivan, you want to do a final statement?
Just thank you.
Just buy the stock.
Well, I can only say that so many times before it works against me. But as soon as we can, we will. Look, this is the first quarter of a lot of really great things we've promised, and we are missing on our share price as the industry is. But we're going to do something about it, and we're going to do something about it in the next few months as we get ready for the second half of the year. And as Johan promised everybody, I think he guaranteed it, plus $2,000 gold an ounce. Yep. But it's going to be fun. You know, the hard work that creates all the fun and excitement in the share price is being done, and it'll soon be in the share price. So look forward to it, and look forward to a robust second half of the year.
Super. Me too. Thank you very much, Michael, Mike, Ivan. All the best to you. Stay healthy, please. Happy Easter, of course, because we have this also this week. And yeah, wish you all the best. And thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johan.
Super.
Thank you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in our virtual online roadshow here. And I think you heard it. Fury Gold Mines is a real exciting company, really unbelievable and totally undervalued. As you heard it, all the analysts have already a average target price of $3.54. This is more than 100% than today share price. And yeah, we are really positive for that. I'm a shareholder too. I'm also a shareholder in Sombrero and Tier 1, and it would be great when they are listed within the next, hopefully 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. The faster, the better. That is also for sure. But what I really like with Fury Gold is that we have 3 exceptional projects. All 3, of course, can go into production. But yeah, there's much, much more potential, and they have the right team. They have the money to do so for the next 12 months, but also they have the ability to finance even much more larger drill campaigns and much more, yeah, how can I say that, resource building, and finally really to move to feasibility studies here. I think exceptional lottery ticket, as Ivan stated it. As I said, gold price will go up quite soon. That is also something which I think is really for sure. Silver is on the move, as the company has also silver. And I would really suggest that you do your homework, check out this fantastic company, and make sure you have some Fury shares in your deposit. Thanks for watching us. I wish you all the best. Happy Easter. Stay healthy. That's the most important thing in those fancy times. And yeah, enjoy it and see you soon. Thanks and bye-bye from Switzerland.